The electric car future, like all visions of the future, seemed like a wondrous tomorrowland filled with sleek cars like those found in iRobot. Instead, besides the falcon wings of the Model X, the Teslas, Bolts, and Leafs of the world, they all look like regular cars. But BMW decided, nope, we're going to build futuristic cars that look like the future when it introduced the i3 and the i8. One of them will shove you in your seat as soon as you stomp on the accelerator. It's a supercar. The other, it's the i3. The exterior looks like Tron, while the interior resembles a pottery barn. It's a polarizing car. Half the people I talk to hate it, while the other half, well, like myself, they like it. People always complain that the final vehicle is never as cool as the concept car shown off by an automaker. Now, for better or worse, with the i3, you're driving a concept car. It's just that this is a concept car for city driving, which is really some of the most mundane driving out there. But the car is at home zipping around corners and pulling into tiny spaces while you're drinking your half iced, zero fat latte. But it can be a bit awkward when you first get behind the wheel. The car's 170 horsepower and 184 foot-pounds of torque. Those sound great on paper, except the first time you get in the car and you depress the accelerator just sort of slightly, it feels like you're driving through molasses. Now, you give it a little harder push and you can feel that electric torque, but that's not actually a bug, that's a feature. The regenerative braking is pretty much set to high. It'll bring the car to a complete stop on flat roads. It's BMW's one-pedal driving, and once you get used to it, it's great for dense city and highway traffic. And it keeps your battery charged a bit. The regular i3 has a range of 114 miles. But I have the Range Extender Edition, so while the EV range drops down to 90 miles, the total range is up to 205 miles thanks to the tiny scooter engine BMW shoved into the back of the car. Yep, there's a tiny scooter engine below the trunk of this car. And when the battery runs low, it turns on and powers the battery, which in turn runs the motor. So it's not like your typical hybrid where the wheels are being powered by an electric motor and a gas engine. Instead, there's a tiny generator in the back that's making sure the battery doesn't go completely dead. And when it does spin up, it sounds like there's a tiny scooter in the trunk, which is sort of weird. So it's not that intrusive, and it does give you more range, but that range could have been extended if BMW had given you more than 2.4 gallons. Fortunately, the car ships with DC fast charging standard, so you can top up the battery in about 45 minutes from 0 to 80%. But the extended range and weird gas tank decisions aside, being behind the wheel in the city is much better than expected. Sure, it's BMW with a history of luxury vehicles, but sometimes when you have a car that looks like this, you expect it to end up with form over function issues. But the interior, which resembles the living room of a very well-off single friend, is ergonomic with everything you need at your fingertips. So the regenerative braking on this vehicle is so part of how it rolls that we're on an 18% grade right now and we're doing 5 miles an hour. Yeah, we're doing 5 miles an hour, Kyle. 4 miles an hour. Feel the power. There's cars coming. Once you get used to the regenerative braking, it's a zippy little city car. It's a fun little car to drive around town. And it handles pretty well if you stay under 50 miles an hour. On the freeway, the car's small size and lightweight make it feel like it's being tossed around by high winds and the turbulence of big rigs. It's the curse of the small car, but the i3's tall stature makes it seem especially vulnerable to passing big rigs and crosswinds. Plus, the hybrid's tiny gas tank means you're going to have to stop every 60-ish miles during any type of extended road trip. But in the city, the car and its aesthetics are at home. It's the cosmopolitan vehicle that's bringing a radical design to the road. Its interior is inviting with sustainable open-pore eucalyptus wood paneling and huge windows that make it feel larger than it really is. And the exterior, well, maybe you're like me and you love it, or maybe you hate it with the heat of 1,000 suns. Either way, if you see one of these on the road, you're gonna notice it. And with more and more cars of the future looking like cars from the past, it's nice to go concept car every once in a while. Fortunately, the next i3 won't look too different from this one, which is great. But eventually all BMWs are going to get the EV treatment. And when that happens, the i3 will probably disappear, which is sad because I wanted a future where all the cars look like they were ripped from Tron and not from an episode of Modern Family.